Hi, welcome to this training session on support and resistance lines. As with all the topics that I discuss, it's important that you actually learn some of these things yourself in more detail, and I suggest you go to www.forex618.net, my website, and have a look at the book list that I have detailed on the site. In that book list you will find many very useful books, and for all traders, whether you're new at trading or whether you're an experienced trader, I would suggest getting most of the books on that list, and there's a reading plan there that you can look at to take you through the book list. Anyway, let's have a look at this chart below, and what I want to talk about is basically support and resistance lines. And a support or a resistance line is simply a line where the price has reacted in the past, which you can draw a horizontal line at that level, and where the price will probably react in a similar manner or in the opposite manner to which it did in the previous occasion. Let me give you an example. For example, you can see that the euro here formed a support line, and I can put it in around there. Now what happened was, when the euro pushed through this line, it moved up, and every time it came back to the line it formed a support level, and the price was rejected from there and continued to go higher. When the price eventually moved down through the support line, when the price moved down through that support line, you can see what happened very shortly thereafter. It reached a lower level and then it bounced back up towards that support line. Now remember, it was support, but in this instance it then became a resistance line, and you can see the euro moved up to that line, just spiked through it but didn't close above it on the hourly charts, and then continued to move lower. That's a very good example of a line which was a support line which then became a resistance line once it was broken, and you'll see this happens many times. But in drawing support lines, the very simple rule of thumb is to draw, you can see I've got a red one here, is to draw a line, just eyeball the charts and have a look at where the price reacted and reversed direction. That becomes a support or resistance line. You can see this red line that I've drawn in here. There was clearly a resistance line. I got up there, almost there, came down, up there again, came down, up there again, and edged down, and then eventually broke up. And I immediately put that red line in because that becomes a support line. It was a resistance line, it now becomes a support line. And you can see I've got horizontal lines drawn all over my charts. These are extremely important to master. There's that blue line again. Have a look at how that was a resistance line. Let me just get those charts refreshing. Have a look at how that was a resistance line at that stage. And then that's about a month, in fact that's about 2 months before the example that I showed you. There's the blue line there at 35.50. There it is right there. It was a resistance line, and you can see how it then became a support line over there. It's very interesting how that happens. Also, coincidentally, it also happened around about the 200 moving average and the lower 100 period Bollinger Band, and gave an entry signal there. Although it wasn't quite oversold on the stochastic, it was pretty close. And I've still got that line drawn there at 35.50, and I'm expecting, if the price moves back down towards there, having been a previous resistance, now lately it was a support, I'm expecting it to be a support line again. And that's a general rule of thumb. Just eyeball your charts. You can see this low blue line I've got here. Eyeball your charts and have a look at where obvious places of support and resistance are. There you can see. Sometimes I draw it so that it cuts off the wick of the candle and just reflects the real body of the candle. Other times I might draw it at the wick. It doesn't really matter. Again, it's not an exact science, and it's an estimate of what's going on. So that low blue line at 34 is a support line in that instance, and you can see as we go along towards where we are now, we're way above it, but if it does come back down to 1.34, I'll regard that as a potential support line. Well, I hope that's been useful, and we'll talk about trend lines in one of the next videos. Cheerio.